Listen to that voice that's saying, maybe you could be healthier. Maybe you could change. That voice is saying, you know what? I want to feel more alive or have deeper relationships.
Right.
Listen to that impulse, because what that is ambition telling you, you are stronger. You are more capable. You do have an extraordinary future.
How would you go about that process of breaking out of your norm?
Self-doubt doesn't ever go away, and self-doubt is actually not a signal to stop. Self-doubt is a signal to learn. As soon as you get that, everything shifts. You're like, oh, I can doubt myself, but that's a signal to skill up, to learn, to master something, to try something new, to get a mentor, to try a new way.
Hey, first of all, good, so great to see your face.
I love you. Good seeing your beautiful face. Nothing
I'm
to apologize
super
for.
thrilled to see yours, man. It's been way too long, dude. I love you like a brother. And for me, this is super exciting because I see that Tasha has come in. Tasha, my friend, is one of the most spectacular presenters I have ever seen. I will toot her horn. You will absolutely, I mean, you know, she's a two-time Olympian and a bronze medal winner for the women's 500 hurdles in Beijing, whatever. Okay, that's like a little side thing. But no, truly, it's just, she's an amazing. And, you know, here, I'm going to give her, if you ever want, we'll send you whatever tape. She's going to be speaking at Paragon. If you're ever looking for somebody to blow some socks off at one of your events, she will be the one to do it. She's just, I mean, Shauna goes, so I shouldn't say this. Shauna says, yeah, she's better than you now. Okay, that's well, I'm gonna have to step up my game.
Hey everyone, how are you doing? And we have with us today, as you can see, the one and only Brendon Burchard, who, I mean, the list of what he has achieved is endless. He's worked with people like Oprah. He has the best high performance coaching system on planet Earth. I mean, I'll let him tell you all the things that he's done, but he's absolutely phenomenal. So Brendon, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a super busy guy. And I would want to just really start out for the people that may have been under a rock for a few years and may not know everything that you've accomplished and everything that you've done. Like, what's your story? Like, where did you start? Why are we even talking to you right now? Just a little bit about you and why you even do what you do today.
Yeah, well, I'm a pretty simple dude. My story, I guess, that really brought me here today is when I was a 19-year-old kid, I was a heartbroken young man. I was in my high school sweetheart type relationship, and then we went to college and that relationship ended and I didn't have emotional maturity. And so when that relationship ended and fell apart, I fell apart because my identity was so tied up into it. And I fell into depression and suicidal ideation. And then fortunately, a short while later, I was in a car accident. And that car accident smashed me in the head pretty good and said, hey kid, you don't want to take your life. You just don't know how to live it yet.
Right.
You don't want to die. You just don't know how to live. You don't hate people because you got your heart broken. You just don't know how to love. And you know, you're kind of lost. You don't know how to matter yet. And this inspiration that I took from the car accident, where most people get in a car accident and, you know, maybe they don't think a ton about it in the sense of mortality. I was gifted with what I think is just mortality motivation. It was like, whoa, life is short. I want to live it. I'm young and dumb and don't know how. So I started studying psychology and then philosophy and then personal development, self-help, self-improvement, spirituality, fell in love with all things personal development and said, I'm going to teach myself how to be happy and healthy. And so I did that. I'm a dork, so I did it through books. You know, I'm a reader. And so I just read a bunch of books and I fell in love with that. I went on to finish college and wrote another book called The Student Leadership Guide, because I'd elevated myself in college with all these leadership positions to challenge myself to grow and contribute.
Right.
Got a great corporate job, was doing that for a while, but I wanted to write a book about personal change. And so I wrote Life's Golden Ticket. That took off. I started doing seminars. I started teaching on the internet way back in, 2006, 2007. And I've been teaching courses since then. So now 20 plus online courses, over, our coaching program, high performance coaching. We've done over 100,000 one-on-one paid sessions in 98 countries around the world, with a 9.7 satisfaction rating. We started Growth Day, which is, world's #1 personal development app at this point in terms of actually offering personal development tools, coaching, and courses.
Right.
And I've been, a fan of Tony's for so dang long. I think I got the original P90X. I mean, it goes that far
we
back.
all did.
Yeah, man. Tony and I shot. He came to my house. I filmed his course, Living Large, in my house.
Right.
So we became great friends, and I just admire what he's doing. And he asked me to come and serve in any way I could today. I said I'd do it.
I love it. I love it. Now I want to sort of like backtrack a bit to, you saying that there was those pivotal moments in your life that sort of led you to where you are. And I think that some people feel that their life isn't like that. There's not this thing that sort of really shifts their thinking, like a car crash or a traumatic event. What do you say to those people who are living a quote unquote ordinary life and, aren't sure if real change, like the complete transformation you've made in your life, is something that is really attainable for them?
Yeah, I say, listen.
Right.
Listen to your heart. Listen to that voice that's saying, maybe you could be healthier.
Right.
That voice that's saying, maybe you could change. That voice is saying, you know what? I want to feel more alive, or have deeper relationships, or be a better leader, or a better parent. All of us have whispers to actualize or manifest our potential.
Right.
For me, that whisper was loud. It was a car accident.
It was a yell, a scream.
For some people, one day they're standing in the Starbucks line and going, what the hell am I doing with my life?
Right.
Other people, they see somebody on stage, or they read a biography, or they watch something online and they get inspired and they go, oh, maybe I can do that. Right. I'm just saying, whatever that maybe is, I could change. Maybe I could be better. Maybe there's a better way. Listen to that, honor that impulse, because what we often don't recognize is that impulse, whether that is dissatisfaction, heartbreak, right, anger, frustration, a life-changing event, all of that is giving us an impulse to grow. Right. Listen to that impulse, because what that is ambition telling you, you are stronger, you are more capable, you do have an extraordinary future. And it's time to listen to that and tap into that. And you can have extraordinary ambitions for the future and still be incredibly happy with today.
Right, right.
Because you mentioned like, well, what about ordinary people going through regular life and everything's good? I'm like, great. Enjoy that. We always think, well, I must be dissatisfied with everything now in order to be motivated to change. I'm like, right. Not true at all. The human impulse is to grow and to fulfill a potential.
Right.
And it's different for you. It's different for me. And so I just tell people, listen for those whispers, listen for those shout outs, listen for those moments where ambition comes in, and know that you are given those impulses or those ambitions for a reason. And that reason is to challenge you to grow and become the best of who you are.
Absolutely. Now, I know with myself and probably with you as well, because I've heard you speak on it, but oftentimes when we do then say, okay, you know what? I'm going to do what Brendon says. I am going to move into action because I feel that inspiration. And then the instant we start moving, it's like every negative voice, every reason why, every doubt. Then you start talking to your friends and your family to get some, confidence, and they're encouraging the doubt, like, no, girl, you stay with what you know. And when you are on stage and when you are on camera, it just looks so natural. Did you ever go through the experience of like trying to step into who you wanted to become, but then feeling that imposter type syndrome? And how do you deal with that? I know you have courses on confidence and things like that. How would you go about, if you were starting all over again, how would you go about that process of breaking out of your norm?
Yeah. I guess I would say I was lucky there in studying a lot of personal development books, because I learned very early on that self-doubt doesn't ever go away. And self-doubt is actually not a signal to stop. And that's what the difference between maturity and immaturity is. Immaturity thinks self-doubt leads to must protect ego, must not try, must stop.
Right.
Where maturity goes, oh, self-doubt, that's a signal to learn and to acquire the skills that would be necessary to be good here, right? So self-doubt's not a signal to stop. Self-doubt is a signal to learn. And as soon as you get that, everything shifts. You're like, oh, I can doubt myself, but that's a signal to skill up, to learn, to master something, to try something new, to get a mentor, to try a new way. And so, yeah, that was my way. I was so nervous to speak. I just wanted to write a book. Literally, that was my ambition. I wanted to write a book. That was it. I didn't do online courses, be on stages, keynote, internets. No, I want to write a book. And I wrote the book and put it out in the world, and it bombed because I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to sell or do marketing. And of course I doubted myself because I was incapable there. But instead of taking that as an ego affront, I said, this is an important thing to me, this book, this dream. It's really important to me. And so I'm going to honor that. And what is required to succeed here? Better communication skills. So Brendon, you're going to learn how to talk, kid. And I started putting myself out there in my classes at school. When I was in college, I would walk around my little dorm. I probably burned a hole in the carpet, walking around, just like talking speeches out in my head of like how I would do it. I'd lay in bed thinking of being on a stage one day and talking, even though that would make me sweat and be terribly uncomfortable. And I sucked pretty much every first video I've ever done. Even to this day, I just shot videos this morning after shooting videos for 15 years. And the first 3 takes completely sucked. But you just keep staying at it. And one day, you know what? You get a little better and you get better and you get better. And then one day people, oh, it's so natural. You're so amazing. It's like watching Tony Horton do pull-ups. You kind of want to just cry and sit on the couch and go, that son of a gun, look at him do all those pull-ups.
Well, I was a monkey in a past life. At watching you do your thing, my man. I mean, you're such a light, you know what I mean? There's so much, not only enthusiasm what you do, but so much knowledge and research and authenticity about what you do. Because there's a lot of people in our business, in my business, your business, and there's a certain amount of smoke and mirrors, and there's like, it's 75% smoke, 2% mirrors, and the rest is all bullshit. I mean, I don't mean to, but you know what I'm saying? Like there's something about certain folks where, with a little bit of examination, you kind of go, man, I don't know if this person's the real deal. I mean, some of what they're telling me is going to be helpful for me, but this comes from the heart. This comes from your soul. And you really, you're the real deal, man. That's why I love being in your company. And I love listening to you speak, because it comes from, and hearing you say, I sucked. I mean, you should be here at the Horton house with Shauna shooting me. It's like, okay, that was no good. So yeah, and that's just trial and error. And here's the one thing that I've learned, and I'm sure you already know this, and a lot of people who are kind of looking to get to the next level in their life, is not to judge the journey along the way, because it's not going to be the perfect thing that you thought it was going to be. And even, and so as somebody who's made it, right? We've made it, whatever the heck that means. You know what I mean? It still happens. You know what I mean? There could be any number of things: malnutrition, dehydration, biorhythms, barometric pressure, not enough good sleep. You know what I mean? Somebody snuck a double cheese chimichanga in my vegan sandwich. I don't know. These things happen. But yeah, and so that's the one thing. Like, it's weird when you're live. I mean, that's the one thing that it's funny when I'm live. I don't do that as much because I think maybe in the back of my mind there's more at stake or something. But I'm on tonal now, you know what I mean? And I do all these shoots here at the house, and I do shoots over there, and I have my own supplement line and whatnot. And you just kind of show up prepared. And even at those times, it's not live. I'm not doing a play, right? So
Right.
I did do a play once, and I had like a full page monologue, and the actor looked at me, and I looked at her on stage, and I went, yeah, I don't know. She started doing my lines. She started saying, do you mean that you're going to tell me that you think I should? And she got like through the first sentence, and I went, just hold on, stop. Let me finish for that, So that was a live play. But
I remember when we were filming your course, Living Large, Tony Horton, we were doing that course, and you, oh my gosh, it was so fun because you're so incredibly skilled at pantomime and acting and just being on your feet as both a teacher and a comedian. Well, I would just feed you a line as like, oh yeah, talk about when you did this or talk about this, and you just bam, and you knock out a 30-minute segment of the course, and you'd be like, okay, and that's a skill, and that happens from running the reps. But I love what you just said, which is don't judge the journey. My way of saying that to people is always honor the struggle. Like honor the journey and honor the difficulties of that journey, because they've been placed before you to stretch you and to make you better, to develop your character, to make you more compassionate, more empathetic, to help you realize the difficulties of humanity, to help you run into other people, to help you get better over time, even when they are awful, frustrating, brutal, heartbreaking, fatiguing, exhausting, overwhelming. That if you can meet those things from a place of honor, of like, I'm going to honor this process, I'm going to honor myself, I'm going to honor my God or creator, if you believe in one, I'm just going to honor the fact that this is hard and challenge myself to meet it as the best that I damn well can. Then no matter how hard it is, if you make it through, or if you still got 4 more years of this crap, you will feel better about yourself and you will grow better. But if you dishonor it, which means you hate the journey, you hate the process, you hate what's happening, you hate your life. Well, we all know everything you apply hate to dies. So, it's like Roundup, right? It's like whatever you put hate on, it's just going to absolutely destroy it. So if you hate the process, it's going to destroy the process, destroy your results. If you hate life, you're going to destroy your life. If you hate other people or other groups of people, it's going to destroy your relationships. And so we have to go, this is hard, this is difficult, this is unknown, this is uncertain, this is overwhelming, this is frustrating, this is freaking me out. And I'm going to take on that challenge from a place of respecting it and respecting myself, hopefully growing through it, because it will forge a better me, even if it doesn't look like that in the short term.
And you know what's so brilliant about what you just said is I think a lot of people who are struggling, regardless of whether it's relationships or finance or career, they don't have any examples of what that looks like. Right. They feel isolated to a certain degree. Maybe their father's a scientist and their mother's like, a successful, professional women's basketball player. And they just like, wow, I don't know. I want to be something other than you two. And I feel like I'm kind of struggling here. And I don't have an example of what my journey looks like. And so that negative talk inside of your head just sort of dominates you. And you're exactly right. It kills, what's that great line from Stevie Wonder where he says, don't let fear kill your dreams. You know what I mean? And I think of that a lot. Like, it's those fears and those the trials and tribulations and the fears that come along with it that just, people don't get as far as I like to get in life because they can only handle the struggle for so long. And when you were saying what you're saying, I kept on thinking of some of the autobiographies that I like to read. Like I'm watching, well, first of all, Lincoln, I was thinking of Lincoln and Benjamin Franklin. Look at Abraham Lincoln. He grew up in a dirt floor in a tiny little log cabin. All that is real. His father was an absolute horrible human being. And, there's no reason he should have amounted to be anything. I mean, what examples did he have? You know what I mean? He picked up everything he could read, no matter where. He was like so into books and learning and growing that way. I mean, that's what this is, right? Your book is back there along with everybody else's. And I just, with me, I didn't have any examples. My father was on the road 5 days a week. My mother and my 2 sisters. I was the oldest and only boy. And I was just kind of meandering. And I had that speech impediment that, that took me so long to get rid of, called cluttering. And for me, it was books and seminars, and a lot of it didn't really kick in until college. And I'm looking at this thing on NPR right now on about Benjamin Franklin. Same thing. I mean, he was one of the most well-renowned superheroes of his time. You know what I mean? And the beginning of his life was horrible. It was horrible. Yeah. So that kind of helped. Like, oh, okay, these people who ended up being icons in history struggled just like that guy struggled. And so you just got to keep fighting the good fight.
That's why I love the biography section. There's no biographies written around people who had the easy. Like, they struggled through. And it didn't look like this perfect growth journey. It was like this. I'm sure Tasha had that, like, you win races, you lose races. And it, like, no Olympian I've ever met was like, wham. It was like, I made worlds. No, I didn't. And then I did. And it's like, guys, one race, one moment, one season. Tasha, how do you do that? How do you do the self-talk when it's like this,
You're absolutely spot on. I mean, I always tell people the year I got my medal was the worst and the best year of my life. Wow. It was the year I had the most injuries. It was the year I was getting divorced. It was the year I was away from my son the most. And then the next thing you know, I'm on the podium. I always tell the story of how when I made the trials and got onto the team, the head coach got 42 texts within 1 hour asking, why is Tasha Danvers on the team? That's how poorly I was running. They didn't even want me on the team. 2 months later, I'm on the Olympic podium. You just never know. And it's like, it was in those moments where, those are the moments where if you haven't built that strength that you're talking about, you quit. And it's like Tony said, you have to build up that resilience to sustain through. And the dream has to be, you have to be so passionate about the dream. You have to be so in tune and in touch with that over there that you'll scrape, you'll scramble, you'll get on your elbows, you will get scratched, you will get slapped, you will get punched, you will go through it all, because over there is what you desire. And that's it. You'll go for it. So absolutely.
Yeah. And even when over there, the goal changes, or the outcome that you're after changes, it's who you are.
Right.
Someone who's, every Olympian I've ever worked with or coach, it's who they are. Right. I mean, literally, it can be a different competition. They could change their sport even, when they're in their earlier years, they can change it up, or like you now, different business, different stage of life. It's at some point, the struggles change, the challenges change, the ambitions and the dreams change, but who you are is what makes you scramble through those things, struggle through those things. It's the character that says, I am willing to challenge myself because I want to see what I am made of. And every person has that impulse. It just most won't listen to it because the self-talk, or because the comparison, or because, the environment that they're in has not supported them listening to that part that says, I will struggle through, I have resolve, I want to be every person wants to be persistent and resilient and courageous and bold and brave and strong for themselves, for their family, for those they lead, but that's hard. And without the mentors, I will say, without the consistent personal development. 100%. Because if you leave your growth or your character or your mental strength to randomness, you will always be locked in mediocrity.
Yeah.
It is only when we make growth the plan and growth as important as the thing we want that we actually have the significant breakthroughs. And I think that's just so true, because our modalities change, the goals change. Like Tony just said, he's on Tonal. I texted him today. I said, hey, I just saw this ad with you on Tonal. There's no way Tony Horton, back at the beginning when he first started, personal training people, ever could have imagined teaching on this device where there's courses and negative pull and all that. Like, there was no, but there he is still showing up and doing it, because that's Tony Horton, baby.
Right.
Well, it's interesting. what you're saying leads, and I want to ask you a question, Brendon, too, about struggle and where you've struggled and where you found that you're like lately and really when you really started. I know that this is interesting. I hope if I can say this succinctly and clearly and articulately. I hope I can disseminate this the way I'd like. But I remember the early days when I was a nobody and I was poor and I was sad and I was depressed and I was drinking and I was exercising erratically and I was wasting too much time going to clubs and chasing girls and just being a fool. You know what I mean? But there was always that little tiny voice that said, dude, you got to get your act together. And then I started reading and going to seminars at the airport. They were always at the airport. What's up with that? And but anyway, I just hated being all those things. And that early struggle was, I don't know where I got, you know, I think I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And maybe that was the thing that kind of sprang it. There was a lot of luck involved as well. And I always used my sense of humor. And I did things like, hey, I think I'm going to start doing stand-up. Let's see how that goes. You know what I mean? Hey, Horton, you got the 1:30 a.m. slot. Good luck. There's 3 drunk guys with spitballs out. That's it. But you're in there and your skin is getting thicker and thicker. And then I would, you know, then I did improv comedy and I did scene study classes, and who knew all those things would help me be more uncomfortable in front of people, in front of a camera, would lead to, and, you know, I think I'll train celebrities somehow, but that didn't start that way. I was training my boss at work who introduced me to Tom Petty, and then it was Billy Idol and Bruce Springsteen, and the whole thing started. But, you know, there was that initial period. And as I look back, I mean, that's my story. That's who I am. Tasha, you have one that's similar when it came to your, you know, when you were running track and trying to get that thing that was over there. So, you know, when I left, I had some notoriety, I had some fans, and that all was really great. And then finally my relationship with Beachbody for 20 years came to an end, and I had to start all over again. And that was one of the scariest periods in my life because I had mortgages. You know what I mean? And I had like my utility bill was more than I would make in a year. You know what I mean? When I was, it's just, so, you know, right. Do I have to downsize? Do I got to sell? And tonal, that thing is complicated. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I'm good at walking, developing something, having like 6 months to do it, rehearsing the hell out of it, like 3 weeks of rehearsal, casting all my friends, and then take after take, hey, just telling some jokes. And then you give it to somebody else. They edit it, they put the sound on, do the ADR, and they just sit back waiting for your royalty checks to come in the mail. And this required to put now I was in big boy pants land. It's time for me to put my big boy pants on. And so just meeting after meeting and, you know, trying to suss things out and deciding, should I work with these folks? And then there's like, you know, all the lawyers are involved and their lawyers are involved. And, you know, it's just, it's really, it was hard. And, you know, Sean and I are doing this Power of 4. A lot of folks that are watching in are doing the Power of 4. The hardest thing I've ever had to do, because now I have to be a businessman and I have to hire employees and I have to create, you know, events like this. You know, Brendon is gracious enough to be here. I mean, it's not, folks at his stature are hard to get sometimes, you know what I mean? And it's just constant. It's just constant. And sometimes it kind of wears me down. Like I was I just finished the fitting. The fitting was 3.5 hours. They wanted 24 outfits. Because I'm shooting 20 workouts in 6 days on tonal next week, man. Wow. And there's 24 because they want some backup outfits. And literally, I came running up here. I go, I can't be late. You know what I mean? It's just whatever. It is what it is.
It's evolution. It doesn't. The people think.
It doesn't stop. Like, you know. But a lot of people, when they make it, whether it's fame, power, or money, right? Those are the areas in which people think that's fame. And then, you know, look out, because the world is still doing this, and one misstep, and you know, you're in the celebrity convalescent home. You know what I mean? It's not easy to sustain, and that's when it gets back to exercise and diet for me. If I didn't have consistent 5 to 7 days a week of exercise, and now I'm vegan, I don't know if I could at 64 if I'd have the energy and enthusiasm to keep this up. But so far, you know. Hold your breath, hope not to die. We're doing okay.
Well, I think if anyone who just watched this last segment, no one's thinking Tony's tired. I mean, it's like, your energy and exuberance is there because you conditioned and trained it, you know, just like, I mean, Tasha, it doesn't matter how much she's training now. She's trained so much that she could smoke anybody out there because I mean, once you've trained a certain amount of time, it's in you. And yes, you have to maintain it. And yes, you have to take care of yourself and all those other things. But you've also earned that energy that you have in your 60s because you built that, you know?
Yeah. But you always think it's going to go away, you know, somehow. And here's the thing. I mean, what I love about you, man, you've got this pre-event, post-event mantra behavior that really helps you sustain your energy. Because when you're on stage, man, you're just a fireball. It's just so fun to watch. You know,
Thanks,
you know, it's just because that's what people are sitting in their chairs. They want to learn stuff, but they want to be entertained. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think the important thing is to focus on your purpose and your plan. I mean, that's a way to deliver it to you know, PhDs that are pretty boring that go to Ivy League schools. But for the rest of us, you know what I mean? We got an attention span about that long. So how do you take all that information, all that knowledge, and how do you add that level of enthusiasm so people it's just easier for people to absorb? But I will say this, and I wanted to ask you this question, you know, turning it on, sometimes it's just not there. Like, you know, I do a lot of these Instagram videos and different kinds of things, and I go live here and there. And especially like I have cameos. I'm on Cameo, and, you know, I got 7 cameos today. Okay. All right. 3, 2. Hey, Bob, how are you, buddy? Living in Boston, are you? Man, oh, wow. I parked the car up there. It's your birthday, huh? What are you, 40? It's time for me to sing happy birthday. Right? That's exhausting. You know what I mean? I got to do 7 in a row and they expire tomorrow, you know? And, but then I chose this living. I chose this thing, and people are depending on me. And sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's hard, but you just do it anyway, you know? And so. Yeah.
Well, there's going to be a lot of days. It's not fun. It's not easy. It's, you know, you don't want to show up at the track. You don't want to go to the gym. You don't want to take the time to make the better meal. You don't want to take the moment to talk to the kid who's freaking out. You know, you don't want to take a beat to listen to your spouse. It's like, that's life, man. There's a lot of the don't want to, don't prefer to. That's part of the success journey. And so you just go, all right, that's part of it. That's part of the struggle. Didn't plan that piece, didn't want that piece, but it's here. And when it's here, I'm gonna do my greatest. I'm gonna do my best. Tony, we've both been there. I'm sure Tasha's too. You go to an event and you think, you know, it's, you know, the promoter tells you there's, you know, 1,000 people in the audience. You show up and there's 30. You know what?
Yeah, I know.
You deliver for the 30. It wasn't the intention, but the opportunity for me, it's always been the opportunity to serve. And that moment is like, okay, you got to summon it. You don't know who needed to hear it that day.
Right.
And because we've all heard it so many times, oh my God, I needed to hear that. I was having this situation. It changed my life. If you hadn't said that and you go, oh, and you start to realize when you have any position or blessing or platform of making a difference, you take it seriously because, wow, you didn't even think that's the thing I said. And that was important to you at that time. Because geez, and now it becomes something you deeply appreciate because it's so rare that other people have that opportunity to give and grace that, but you have to summon it. It's not always there. You have to summon it. I mean, I love hearing how athletes do it. They don't feel like it, but it's like, okay, it's practice. I've got to okay, let's go. I mean, there's this myth that we all feel totally jubilant 24/7 on our success journeys, when a lot of time it is a grind. And a lot of time we have to remind ourselves to feel the blessing, to be in the moment, to be appreciative, to be energized, to be enthusiastic, because you know what? Service and success both require us to act outside of our emotional comfort zones. Big deal. Yeah. That's part of the journey, you know?
I want to ask you both this, and I'll go ladies first. Tasha, lately, I would say, you know, especially during the pandemic and COVID and everything else, everybody had to kind of make a shift one way or the other to kind of, you know, keep the ball rolling on some level. Financially, relationships are suffering as well. Where would you say is sort of the thing that really, man, you just sort of feel like this is I got to summon it right now? What would it be? I mean, if you feel like being honest about certain things, where do you feel like the struggle has been in the last year or two, and what you've been able to do to overcome it? I'm curious.
It's so funny, Tony. I was actually going to pick you guys' brains about that whole process, because after retiring, that was the thing that really was a struggle for me. It was like, okay, what do I do now? I've got this talent, you know, Tony. There's a lot of things that I actually can do, and so I would start trying to invest in myself into that direction. And it's like, okay, when do you never give up, and when do you learn when to pivot, right? It's like this balancing act of knowing, you know, and people would ask me, so, you know, should I keep going? Should I never quit? Is this when I should be pivoting? Right? So I was actually going to pick your brains, but for me recently, like the struggles has been like you said, everything since the pandemic has been completely new. And it's this whole process of reinventing yourself. And then, as Brendon and I were talking about, that self-doubt never goes away. And it's really rising above who you used to be or who you are right now to become who you want to be. And in order to do that, you have to really change as a person. I love Jim Rohn. He has a quote where he says, you know, you need to change who you are in order to get what you want, right? You need to actually, the biggest thing that you need to be working on is always yourself. You should always be working hardest on yourself, not your job, not your kids, not your spouse. You should always be working on yourself, your hardest. So personal development should be number one. And it's like getting the things that you need and the tools that you need. I think that has been the biggest struggle for me personally, because I was an athlete. My life was laid out. I never had to think, and I didn't even realize I didn't have to think. I didn't have to create a goal. Who needs to create a goal? The Olympics are in 4 years. That's the goal. I don't have to think about how it works. And I have a coach. They're going to map it all out. It's done. I just show up, slot myself into the groove, and it's party time, right? You know, if I get an injury, do I have to think about what I need to do to recover? No. Hello, physiotherapist. What do I need to do? Ride the bike? Okay, off I go. And then I retire. And all of a sudden, my life is my own. I don't have agents. I don't have people that are going to read the contracts for me. I don't have people who are going to arrange the events. I don't have anyone to say, this is the goal. I don't have anyone to reverse engineer my goal to today. I'm on my own. I don't even have a thing. I don't even have a sport. I have nothing. So I think that has been the super struggle. It's like finding who I am without sport. Because before sport, I was sport. I am the athlete. People didn't say, hey, Tasha, how are you doing? They would say, hey, Tasha, how's training? Hey, Brendon, how's your certified coaching, high performance coaching going? Hey, Tony, are you still doing P90X? How's Power Nation going? Right? Nobody's asking about you, right? And so I was the athlete. So as soon as that curtain shut, it's like, who is Tasha without sports? And that, I think, you know, even though it's been a while since I retired, the things that I was doing, I was constantly trying to find who I was. And speaking to other athletes, I realized that I really had fallen into the same patterns they had, which was trying to figure out, who am I, right? And then once you get on that journey, is this the journey I should never quit, or is this the journey I should pivot on? So that's been where I've gotten struggled.
That's real. Oh, Tony, you're muted.
Yeah, Tony, you're mute. This is where your mouth.
Sorry, I had to do that because my dog is going haywire. I got no wife, I got no assistant. I don't want to run down there. And what are you doing, animal? And, you know, put a muzzle on him. He's just going, I don't know, there's something going on out there. Who knows?
We can't hear him.
Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, good. And that was my transition. You know, I feel very, very lucky and very blessed because I had a built-in fan base for what I already did. So I just pivoted from, you know, workouts with Beachbody workouts to Tonal. Power Nation is, you know, more workouts. And then the supplement thing was just a blessing when that came, because that was developed for me based on my illness 4 years ago. And we just created some products that were, you know, super high end that other people needed. And you know, we're suffering from similar things that I'm suffering from. So, but still, you know, I mean, this, like Brendon says, the struggle continues. And And, and the reason why one of the reasons why we created the Power of Four, for example, is mindfulness is one of those 4 pillars. And we never really did that with Beachbody. Mindfulness was this, what is mindfulness? Like, walking my dog or playing music, or it could be any number of things, you know what I mean? And sort of really developing that and adding that into the program. And if it wasn't for exercise and diet and the mindfulness and the supplements that I created, I mean, I wrote the 11 laws, right? I wrote the big picture, which had, 11 things that I practice on a daily basis. So just naturally who I am now, or before I wrote the book, years before I wrote the book, I don't know what those things were. I didn't know how to follow those things. I just took a lot of really cool stuff out of here. And I went, I think I'm gonna, and I'm sure Brendon's the same way. Brendon, he loves to absorb new information. Like, he's a student, has always been a student, he'll continue to be a student. Like, that never goes away for that man. And so as a result, some information, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong, information will come your way and you'll go, oh, that's very helpful for me. But if I was to transcend that sort of that thing that helps me to others, I would deliver it this way, right? Yeah. He's brilliant at, the top public speakers and motivational folks in the country go to him, right? He used to go to them and now they go to him because he's found a really brilliant way of disseminating that information better than most, and I've added humor to my thing, because exercise sucks. Okay. We all know that, lifting and pushing and squatting and running, it's physically, mentally, and emotionally painful at the same time. Yay, let's go do that. No, people don't want to do that. So, you know what I mean? I got to do a little song and dance and whatever it takes. I do that for myself because I want to give people authentic routines that really work, but I don't want to get so dang serious about it that no one's going to want to show up. Right. So that's just my style. He has brilliant style, tremendous persona. Tasha, you're the same way, man. Like, when you're in front of just because you're like 18 feet tall and you look like a goddess and you got these like ridiculous tattoos. I mean, you just look like a superhero, you know what I mean? And then you start speaking with such enthusiasm and fire. Shauna will turn to me and go, you got to step it up, buddy. And that's what's great. I mean, I know you guys feel blessed. I feel blessed, and the struggle continues, and it's not every day is perfect, and still my journey goes right. Yeah. And that's part of what it is. I'm 64, so I'm thinking, well, it'd be nice to kind of retire soon. I'm a huge fan of doing nothing. You know what I mean? I was the laziest kid in the world. I was a procrastinator. I had the speech impediment. There were so many things. I had the big struggle. I had alcoholism in my family and all kinds of crazy family stuff. But, that's who we are, and that's our story. And I think people can relate to that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you mean you weren't the captain of the football team and went out with the cutest girl in school and got straight A's and just, no, none of the above. You know what I mean? And so I think that's easy. Because of stories like ours, with all those trials, tribulations, and struggles, people go, hey man, he or she that was brutal for them. And that's brutal for me right now. I'm just going to hang tight and listen to these folks. And hopefully I'll learn a thing or two so I can begin to make that journey as crazy as it is in moving in the right direction, so. Yeah. So key. That brutal thing, man, I think that's one thing that where we get trapped in our own misery is when we feel like the situations and the challenges of our life are brutal, unfair, and only to us. Like the hardest thing I've had, I've been coaching every week for 15 years and life coaching and now high performance coaching. And I can't tell you how many parents I've had to say, let's talk about this and remind you're not the only parent who's ever lost a child. And let's talk about this. Cancer sucks. You're not the only one. Let's talk about this. You're going in bankruptcy. Other people have had that too. And I'll let you know, they made it through. And because when we're in hurt or we're suffering or in misery, the ego says, I'm the only one. Mm-hmm. And then the ego does the double time on us, which says, isolate, be embarrassed, go lonely mode, go dark mode. At the very time in which that's when we're supposed to connect with humanity, because there's lots of other people who went through it and they got the map. They're 5 miles out front. They already ran it. And so it's so funny that if misery is happening, that ego gets triggered and
you know when it's ego because it's triggered to go lonely, to go dark mode, to hide, to bow out at the very time. It's like, no, step up, raise your hand, ask for help, look for the map. Because, you know, the funny thing about the ego is it in its own perverse way wants to extend the misery. Because now we can justify it. Now we can say, oh, my journey, you don't understand. Now we get to vent a little more with our friends. And often, as you all see, like maybe Tasha, sometimes I bet the most empathy Tasha ever got was when she was injured. And so what happens? The ego goes, oh, I'm not doing well here. I get attention and support and people are nice. And the ego can trap us into enduring struggles that actually we could overcome if we could ask for help. And I know when people hear this, it's dangerous because they go, oh, Brendon, you're saying it's my ego's not dealing well with my kid being sick. You're saying my ego, I'm like, no. What I'm saying is the ego can fool you into not reaching out for help.
Right.
That's all. I'm not saying the ego just likes the attention of that, or it likes the loneliness of it, but often it pulls us away from connecting with other people because shame, embarrassment, comparison, fear of social judgment or rejection. At the very damn moment we need the most help, the ego shuts us down to make us suffer more. And so personal development, spiritual development, the work that we all do, we all know from a position like what we have today to talk about, we all know and teach, you know what? Sometimes you got to reach out. You got to get the map. You got to learn from someone else. You got to get a mentor. You got to get a coach. You got to get a therapist. These things are helpful in talking through, and they'll move you through it faster than you would naturally do. And that's why I love what our work is. So much of all of our work is saying, read, study, get a mentor, get a coach, get a therapist. It's okay that you're struggling. Just don't struggle alone, man. Like you're going to run the marathon, train with 4 people. It's way better than trying to figure out by yourself, man.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I've never run a marathon, so that's just talking out my face.
I love that. I love that you bring that up.
I don't think Tasha's run more than a mile because she's never needed to.
Yeah.
When you're that fast.
Yeah. You can get a bronze medal by only going around one time. You know, you just got to jump over stuff and beat everybody else.
You got to get over it.
It's interesting what you said, Brendon. And I think, without Shauna, without Tasha, without a lot of my friends, I've got to have people to bounce things off of, because there's so many things coming at you from so many places and so many people and so many things that sometimes it's so overwhelming that I have to reach out to others. I no man or woman's an island. And then eventually I've got to collect all that information and just sort of make a decision. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was on Sanjay Gupta's name dropping podcast but about a month ago. And we were talking about, it was longer than that. It was about 5 months ago. And we were talking about the pandemic, And his wife categorized 4 different groups of people while they were going through the pandemic. There were a lot of trauma. A lot of people were traumatized. They lost family members. They lost their jobs. They lost all their finances. It was crazy. And like you said, instead of like, okay, what do I got to do? Who do I got to call? Who I got to email? What books do I have to, how much I got to exercise? I got to eat right. Instead of doing everything right, they did everything wrong because they were so overwhelmed by the moment, because people are just barely living on the edge as it is. Right. Yeah. So he said the 4 categories were, when I wrote them down, they were monks, people who weren't going to leave the house no matter what. They were going to sterilize everything. They wore a mask inside. They were just like, they hunkered down. Then there were chunks, people who just overate. They just ate themselves into oblivion. Then there were the drunks, same thing, but they used alcohol. And then he said, then there were the hunks. And the guy said, what are the hunks? He said, the hunks had just said, this is an opportunity for me to be my very best. All right. And he said, Tony, I get a feeling you are a hunk. I said, yeah, I ended up getting 3 jobs. But I was kind of a hunk monk combo. And then I told him, I said, I think you forgot punks. And I go,
yeah, that's right.
Punks? I go, yeah, all the people, all the naysayers and the finger pointers and the people that gave you all that negative, because they were so negative anyway. And the pandemic was an opportunity for them to be, to get on their high horses and just talk crap to everybody else. He liked that one. I don't know if he added it, but You're absolutely right, man. When I reach out to others in times of struggle is such a beautiful part of my life. It truly is an amazing time. You know what I mean? So the struggle is where the lessons are, and the struggles are where the growth is and the transformation. You know, I talk about when people are exercising from being out of shape to being in shape, that switch, you know what I mean? And that switch is a bitch. It just is, you know what I mean? But you keep on keeping on, and you put one foot in front of another, and you surround yourself with good people. And if your purpose is I know what my purpose is. My purpose is so locked in. You know, my purpose is to help other people find their purpose through exercise and a decent diet. And it works for me. You know what I mean? And those 11 laws, you know, from my book, they're just bread and butter. They're just you know, they help me still to this day, along with the power of four, the 4 pillars that really are made up of this new program. And you need those types of things to hang your hat on, you know what I mean? As opposed to, you know, fear and disappointment and sadness and depression and being overwhelmed and all these other things. And it takes time to replace those with the new ones. And when you practice the new ones long enough, that kind of becomes who you are, even though the struggle is not going to go away. I mean, you know,
yeah.
So anyway.
I love that you both have talked about, you know, that also that coaching aspect, right? When you need to move up a level, stop trying to do it on your own. Sometimes you need to hang on to somebody who's already done that, who's already been there, and you need that coaching. And I think that was one of the things that I missed out when I made the transition out of sport. Is I took for granted that coach was like an accountability, you know, it's always there accountability. And I remember training for the games, and I had to go to England to train, and my coach wasn't there. So they sent the workouts, and I would go to the track and do them on my own. And this is when it really dawned on me, the power of that accountability of having a coach is just going to the track. And like nobody else was at the track that day. It was in England. So it was like all drizzly and dark and overcast. And I went from saying, you know, oh yeah, I'm coming, I'm going to do, you know, 5 times 300 is the workout. Here I come all strong and ready to go. And this is me training for the Olympics. And I get there and I'm like, okay, maybe today I'll just do 3 300s. Yeah, okay.
That's right.
And then I did a lap around and I'm like, you know, maybe I'll just go home today. And it's like, hold on, I'm the one training for the Olympics. And we all have those moments where, like you said, we don't want to do it. And you know, I've had coaches, and I know now to implement coaches in situations where I really want something to happen. And what I've noticed, Brendon, is that your coaching style is so different. Like I've had life coaches, I'm like, okay, when is this session gonna be over? Right? And, you know, but I've seen your high performance coaching is very different from the traditional life coaching. Like what inspired, why is it so different from the other training, and what is it that inspired you? Because like you said, I was just writing a book. Now you're like coach extraordinaire. Where did that come from?
Yeah, well, I'll make a little parallel and shout out to Tony on this one, because I think what made a difference in both of our careers is very similar in this, is like, okay, one way of doing things is the way everyone else is doing it, right? So in life coaching and in business coaching, it's been taught the same way for 20 years. People are still running huge certification programs based on how it's been taught for 20 years, which is, hey, you're a life coach. You need to learn to listen, reflect back to what people say. And your job is to show up at each session going, how's it going? What are you working on? What's getting in your way? How are you going to overcome that? What's your commitment? Did you do it? Go do it. I'll check in next time. It's kind of like, what are you doing? What's getting in your way? Let's talk through that. What's your commitment? See you next time. But when I went through that as a client, I was bored out of my mind by the 6th session. The person was asking the same types of questions every time. There were times I had progressed, sometimes I hadn't. And it was just like, really the same thing? And then I found out the whole industry is built on that exact same model. And I thought, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because high performers, achievers, what we want is progress. What we want is to know we're moving towards outcomes that will benefit us long-term. And so what I did with the life coaching space was I said, you know what? We need to do a couple things. One, we need to be curriculum-based. We need progressive curriculum-based training throughout the sessions. so that even if their goal is struggling over here, we're leveling them up in another area. So I think when I think of what Tony did, progressive training, right? Curriculum based, just like you said with your coach. I mean, it's just different when someone hands you a curriculum and they're there to cheer you on, and it's harder than, because right, life coaching, just give me the list of questions. What are you working on? What's getting in your way? What are you gonna do to overcome it? What's your commitment next time? I can do that with questions, but if someone shows up and they have a curriculum and they push you and they challenge you and they're not placating and they're going to move you up regardless, that's different. I think so. For us, it was adding curriculum, it was adding outcomes, it was adding progressive sessions so that the sessions actually get harder, and so that you're learning and you're growing on a consistent basis. Because imagine someone says, well, Brendon, my goal is to write a book. Okay, every session, if I'm your coach, we're just going to talk about, did you write? Did you write? Did you write? Did you do it? What's getting in your way? Did it? Or I can help in every area of your life develop clarity and energy and productivity and influence and courage in every area. And we know by developing those things, you're going to achieve long-term success, better well-being, and better relationships. So my whole job as a coach, you might say your goal is this, but I'm going to improve every area of your life. You might say, I'm coming to P90X to, lose a little bit of this here in my stomach. And that next thing you know, you finish this thing, your legs are ripped too. And you're like, whoa, right? So you're going after a more holistic transformation when you're smart. You're going after progressive training when you're smart. And you're building curriculum thoughtfully because you've done the reps. Like what made Tony's career is he knows the order to put these things in that lead to more extraordinary outcomes than the average trainer because he's done the reps. And for me, I've been coaching for 15 years. I just know how to structure the sessions, the curriculums, the outcomes to make it progressive and challenging and hopefully a little fun. Not as funny as Tony's, but hopefully fun. And that's high performance coaching.
Very fun, dude. Very fun. You don't fill a room because you're dull. That's for dang sure. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's just such great intel. I think I think about the switch as a bitch. It's just really about adding information you had never heard before. Because people are very they go through grade school and junior high and high school and college, and they have this pattern they follow. They know that they got to get out. A lot of kids don't even get past grade school. Some don't graduate from high school. Some have fortunate enough to go to college and grad school, but they still have the struggle is still real because they don't learn the things that you're teaching. That doesn't exist, right, in curriculum in regular school, public school, anywhere. I mean, I don't know, maybe it does someplace, but you should be a professor somewhere going around the country and saying, yeah, I know you have all these great plans and everything else, but why are you overweight? And why are you financially in trouble? And why are your relationships crap? Because none of the things you've learned in the last 18, 20, 25 years that have anything to do with any of that. You know what I mean? Yeah. They help you be, a really good,
we still don't teach health. We still don't teach mindset. We still don't teach productivity. We still don't teach influence. We still don't teach courage. We still don't teach purpose. Like, it's mind-boggling that you would think, we still don't teach how to balance a checkbook. We teach nothing outside of rote memorization. And by the way, I do believe there are phenomenal teachers in the world who layer that stuff in, but in mass when you look at the quote unquote curriculum of educational institutions, particularly in North America, they tend to be pretty weak on what we would all call like life skills. And so we've got to do a better job. And to everyone out there, I know a lot of your people, Tony, they're influencers, they're givers, they're servants, they're leaders. I thank you all for trying to put some goodness out in the world to help this world in a time when it's really dark, when it's really lacking in good education, and when it's really divisive. That when you have people who are coming together, sharing new information, helping other people, leading with empathy and encouragement, that we can change things. We really can change things. That's why I love doing what we're doing. I love being part of this, is because we actually have that opportunity. And most people, when they start taking it, what they find out is they inspire themselves into becoming a better person. You know, when you teach somebody, when you coach someone, it makes you test your own stuff. Like, oh, am I doing all right, okay. And you get better. The more you help people, the better actually you get. And I think that's a blessing of life.
I think it's that frog in the frying pan analogy sometimes, where you know, you're just in this world, you're around these certain kinds of people, you have this certain kind of culture, you've been raised in it for decades and decades. You're in pain, physically, mentally, emotionally. You're fatigued all the time. There's a lot of anger and sadness and depression in your life. But for some reason, you just think that's okay. You know what I mean? I'm broke. I've always been broke. My parents are broke. My grandparents are broke. I live in poverty. This is who I am. You know what I mean? And so I don't have any good mentors, teachers, or coaches to show me the way. And when you've been that person, regardless of the categories of life for so long, like, it's really hard to believe. It's really hard to have trust and faith in something that is brand new and the antithesis of who you are. Right. So anybody who makes that switch, like Jeremy Yost, who weighed almost 400 pounds with a fused right ankle, like, I'm going to do that P90X. The first 90 days was marching in place. I mean, it's like he's watching his screen with people doing abra rex and plyo and yoga. And he's just like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, who, where, nobody, like, why are you wasting your time? His wife, like, this is stupid. You're not actually doing it. Just give up. You're going to refuse that. But no. And now he's on QVC with me, you know, doing push-ups for a whole hour and a half. I'm on air. You know what I mean? So some people, like this girl, Kathy, who I met at a shoot, she looked like, are you a gymnast? No, I used to weigh 210 pounds. She was 5 foot tall. And she lost 100 she was down to 110 from 210 and she just started doing pull-ups. She goes, when I did Power 90 before P90X, I couldn't do a push-up on my knees. And now I'm watching this strided, ripped woman doing 10 pull-ups in front of me on a set. You know what I mean? You think to yourself, I couldn't have done that. I mean, I had to read a bunch of books and I had to get new friends, and mine took 20 years. You know what I mean? It's just amazing how some people they just hook in, where others, I'll tell you, man, you can lead a horse to water. You can read, here it is. This is, you're starving and you're thirsty and just no. So you're right. Especially now, there is this planet right now what's going on in Ukraine, you know, what's happening, the divisiveness here in this country, you know, the political stuff that's going on, you know what I mean? And we all want to get in our corners, you know what I mean? And we all want to defend our stuff. But if there was ever a time to work really hard on getting your act together in whatever areas you need it, because then, like, you know, I always say that personal development ain't about me. I mean, it's about me for a little while, and then it's not about me anymore. Like, what you do is, like, you know, you've got so many skills. You're so great at sort of getting your message out. You just love seeing change in other people. And there needs to be more Brendon Burchards. There needs to be more Tasha Danvers. I need more mini-me's as well. And so, you know, I hope and pray that more and more people will, you know, begin to get to that place in their life where, like, you know what, I feel pretty good. My life is really great. I'm still going to struggle, but, you know, what 10 people can I reach out to right now that I know are struggling, who I need to pick up the phone and go, hey man, how you been? What's going on? I haven't talked to you in a couple of years since the pandemic. How can I help you? Like, tell me, let me help you, man. On that one-to-one, forget about a crowd of 1,000 people. That's, you know, still, that has a lot of power too, but just that direct contact to people that are struggling. And that's, I feel blessed to be in that position. I mean, I got 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12 people here every day at the house. You know, they're here at night. They're here that, because if 8 of them cancel and 8 of them been called, guess what it is for me? A day off. You know what I mean?
But they're showing up still. You're doing those workout routines with them in the mornings and in the evenings, and it just keeps you fresh and it keeps you connected to humans, and that's everything. Yeah.
And then they're so thankful too.
What you were saying, Tony, about you know, you seeing this ripped person in front of you and you're seeing the end result. And I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up, is they're thinking of the end result, or they're looking at somebody else's end result and they're looking at where they are, and it just seems so far. And I think, you know, a lot of people, in order to make that step, they have to realize that it's okay to do baby steps first. It's okay to just march on the spot. You know, I didn't just go from Tasha, the little kid running in the park, to Tasha on the Olympian, there was a whole lot of stuff in between, y'all, right? So it's that process. And once you bring that down, once you sort of change your perspective, it's like, okay, I don't need to be at the top of the mountain tomorrow. I just need to bite off a little bit. And how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I'm vegan, so I don't eat elephants, but it's just taking that little piece that you can manage. I was speaking to my mentor earlier today, and like you said, Brendon, she said the same thing. I was like, why am I always challenged in this same area over and over? And she's like, you don't teach it. You only teach what you're comfortable with. You teach about, motivation. You teach about personal development in this area. You teach fitness, and you don't teach that area. That's why you're challenged in that area. You need to teach what you need to learn. And so I was like, okay, starting tomorrow, putting together a lesson plan. And it's like you said, Brendon, because in order to teach something, you have to learn it. You have to really understand the information that you're disseminating. And so, there's so many ways. That's something that even an everyday person, like if you don't feel confident, there's so many ways to access information about confidence. Go and learn about confidence and then teach it to someone. You don't have to teach a class. Just say, hey, a couple of my friends come over, or let's do a Zoom. I want to just do a presentation. I'm going to give you guys 3 tips on confidence. It's that easy that we can develop our own selves through just taking little steps and not looking at everybody else's end result. Comparison is will just kill you. So just take off a bite of what you're trying to go after, and every day that little 1% more.
So good. So good. So true.
Is Tony miming again? Is he doing his pantomime again?
He's on mute.
Yes, he's on mute again.
I'm amazed you can't hear Charlie. I'm a little concerned because I've never heard him bark this long, this hard.
Go check.
Something serious going on down there. But I do want to say this before I do check on him. Maria, I think it's kind of helping run the session. I don't see any action in the chat room. I'm hoping there are some folks that hopefully this has been a meeting.
We are the folks.
I enjoyed it, regardless if there's anybody here or otherwise. They can always watch it on the.
Well, I see it's being live streamed somewhere, so I think she's broadcasting it into your members area from what I'm seeing. So we're here, but she's broadcasting it into some other members area where the chat is probably.
Well, we're approaching the 90-minute mark, dude, and I know your time is very precious, but I just wanted to give maybe 10 more minutes for questions for anybody, if they have any. But the thing is that Maria's got to get them from them, and then she's got to type them into the chat room. Okay. So let's give ourselves 10 minutes for that. And I'm going to go see if Charlie's, if there's a burglar in the house. There's something.
I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and ask you a question while Maria is looking at Brendon. I'll ask you. This is like a really, you're going to be like, not this question again. But I want people to hear it from your perspective, because this is a question. It doesn't matter how many years go by, how many weeks, how many days, how many decades. I get asked this all the time, and I'm sure you do too. The how do you stay motivated question. Like, is it just me, or do you get that question as well, like constantly? And what do you respond to that?
Yeah, well, first, it's a great question. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that their motivation is both like mindset and momentum. Right. And those things are coming together, forming your motivation. Like the momentum you had in the last 72 hours is forming a sense of motivation now. So there's an immediacy effect, and then there's a philosophy effect, which is what your mindset about life is. And what research tends to show us is a couple of things have to happen for motivation to like endure. The first thing is we have to be clear about and sense ambition. So the spark of all motivation is actually ambition. I want to do something. And that usually means I want to change something in the future, shift something, build something, activate something. Right? I want something to happen in the world, or I want to do something or think. That's ambition, right? And most of us don't know that. But that's why everyone gets so excited around New Year's. Why is everyone so motivated around New Year's, even though they have a hangover? Well, they are so motivated around New Year's is because they're in the future again. There's an ambition, there's goals. So you have to start there. But why do most people lose that same motivation 90 days later? Because Well, on New Year's, they were writing down the goals. They were looking at it. They were obsessing about it. They were visualizing. They were thinking about it. They were discerning. They were making a plan. But they stopped doing that 90 days later. And they're like, what's going on? Why am I losing motivation? You didn't lose motivation. You stopped reminding yourself of the ambition.
That's huge.
You stopped focusing on and remembering why or who you were fighting for. So no one loses motivation. They take the eye off the thing that motivates.
Wow.
So that's number one. Second thing is, we know in psychology, we call it expectancy theory, which is, if I have an ambition, a goal, or a dream, I have to believe that I can manifest that or achieve it. If I don't believe it and I see it, or I have this sensation of that future or that goal or that dream, but I don't believe I can do it, I won't be motivated. So the first thing is know the thing. The second thing is believe in self. The third thing related to momentum is effort. Consistent effort leads to more motivation. It's just showing up time and time again. It becomes more automatic, more natural. You look more forward to it. You have to put in the miles. You have to put in the effort for motivation to sustain and to kick in. And then the last piece, which is what most people have struggled with the last 2 years, environment. We forget, we always think motivation is an internal game. A tremendous amount of motivation is actually sociology. It's the people around us, what those people are talking about, how much they focus on things, how they describe goals, how much they complain, how positive they are or negative they are. And in these last couple of years, so many people were isolated from a positive environment. They lost motivation. No, you lost connection and frequency with your connection to ambition, to future, to momentum, and other people. And so if you want like motivation to really last, you understand these pillars: ambition, expectancy, effort, environment. You put those things on repeat, and now it becomes easy to summon, or it's more naturally there. But all of those things require focus and energy. And without focus and energy on those things, you're not just going to show up naturally motivated all the time. My mom does. She's pretty amazing. She's 75 and she's unbelievably energized. I think there are people who just have that unbelievable disposition. My mom is that way. So you know what? Apparently that's about 9% of the general population. They have the disposition of never-ending motivation. The other 91% of us suckers have to focus on it and generate the energy and the mindset that we wish to feel.
Amazing.
The one thing, I came in a little bit late, but you're absolutely right. The one thing I would want to add to anybody who's sort of having a difficult time, getting to that next level, whatever they're trying to pursue. And it's interesting when I finally got on the internet, and I was hearing you talk about those early days of learning how to communicate and getting on stage and walking around in circles, wearing out the carpet, just hearing your voice out loud. And I think one of the biggest struggles for a lot of people who are trying to, kind of get to the next place is the difficulty in expressing themselves. There's a limited vocabulary there. There's maybe a really strong accent or something. I mean, for me, I did the same thing. I had a little tape recorder, a little cassette tape recorder, and I would read the newspaper or a magazine or a book. I'd read a paragraph and I'd play it back and I think, I can't understand a damn word you're saying, dude. In my mind, it sounds good. Then I play it back and go, that can't be me. Those two things are not the same, but the truth will set you free. And it certainly did. And that's why I did improv comedy. That's why I did mime. I wanted to perform, but I was afraid to speak. So of course I picked mime. It just sort of makes sense. But I think the more and more you work on your ability to be able to disseminate and communicate and articulate, and building that vocabulary along the way just gives you great confidence. And of course, for me, everything goes back to exercise. I can't tell you how many people who were really shy and timid and afraid to talk to people, but then they got strong and fit, and then that went away, or that was part of their success in being able to have the confidence to be able to say what they, one of my favorite expressions is ask for what you need. But if you don't have the confidence to do that, then you're just not going to do that. So what are all the things you need to do so that you can ask for what you need? I have a dear friend of mine. He's a lovely guy. sweetheart. Everybody loves him, but gosh, he's just stuck all the time. I don't want to say who he is. I mean, and he does it in little tiny increments. And I'm going, dude, you're almost 60. At the pace you're going, you're going to have what you want at 140. Okay. So, it's like, well, I don't want to bother them. I go, bother them. Be the squeaky wheel gets the freaking grease. But he has a difficult time articulating exactly specifically what it is that he needs. And so, I'm working with him, and hopefully he'll continue to do that. And now, and I'm kind of the hammer and he's kind of the nail right now, because I root for him because he's such a good person. You know what I mean? And so now he's starting to come in his own. He's doing some of these live videos and whatnot. I won't get into who he is. And at first he was so nervous. He was talking at 100 miles an hour. And I go, all I'm focusing on is your inability to communicate with me, even though you're a wonderful person. Even when he would say his title, he'd say his title so quickly. I didn't know what his title was, because what? I don't know what that means. And so, it's been hard for him, but he wants it, and he's working on it, and he's finally really getting pretty good. And it's fun because his little fan base is starting to grow. You know what I mean? And it's because, and literally a year and a half ago, he was terrible. You know what I mean? And he knew it. But, with a little help from me, I haven't heard from you a while. What's going on? I don't want to bother you. Are you freaking kidding me? Bother me. I love you. You're my friend. I want to see you succeed. You have such passion in this category. You have to get there. So that's it. I mean, just the ability to be able, look at me. I used to be, I was a mess when I was a kid. Right? I was afraid to open my mouth and now I can't shut up. I do see some questions here.
Yes.
So let's get to those, everybody.
Hit me up.
This one I think for you is Brendon. How do you step out of a personal shadow? How do you step out of a personal shadow and into taking action on those impulses that Brendon spoke of earlier? How do you step out of a personal shadow? Interesting question.
Yeah. I think wouldn't that be an interesting conversation of what they think a personal shadow is, and whether or not that's a good or a bad thing, or whether or not what I would suggest is a personal shadow is a make-believe phrase. And what we do as humans, as we create these concepts as if they're real. I have a personal shadow. What does that mean? Is that empowering the way you're making that phrase? Because a lot of people, they'll describe something that's very limiting, or they'll describe, and we make these phrases and we make these labels and we pretend they're real, and we pretend we're us. So what I would suggest is, let's move beyond this phrase and let's go to what the second part of the question is, which is, how do I take action?
Right.
And that action is every day you wake up, you get yourself in a good mental, physical, spiritual place. That might mean meditation, exercise, diet, a good night's sleep, right? But when you get up, at some point in your morning routine, you're going to just write down 3 simple things that you're going to do that day. And these are the important things that you're going to do that day. It's not a to-do list. It's a priority list, 2 very different things. And you're just going to say, by the end of this day, I'm going to achieve these 3 things. Then you plan out Friday, and you say, well, in Growth Day, which is my app, we call it Friday Finishers. I always want you to know, at the end of day Friday, 5 p.m. at Friday, what will the things be that you achieved, delivered, completed by the end of the week? So know the 3 things this day, and know the things that have to be done by the end of the week. And all we need you to do is win that day and win the week. That's it. Lots of other things are going to come on your plate that you won't get to. Lots of other things will cause emergencies and screw up this. That's okay. 3 things every day, win the week. If you get momentum at that, I really believe you become unstoppable, whether you have a shadow or not. Because, Tasha, do you have a shadow? Tony, do you have a shadow? Brendon, do you have a shadow? I don't know.
I have 14 shadows. So, right. But
it's like,
I like my shadow because my shadow can run just as fast as me.
Right. And I don't mean to minimize it. What I mean to say is we think we have these big limitations, and we create labels and everything else like that. Tony had cluttering or stuttering. Like I had this deep introspective weird guy thing that was hard to talk to people. You know,
Wow,
like
man. I love that.
we can all, you know, we can all say, well, I had this when I grew up, or they did this, or they did this, or I'm like this, or I have this dark side of me. Okay, cool. And show up today. Know what you want today. Work towards that today. Do that again tomorrow. Do your best. Show up again the next day. Do your best. Like, some of it's so simple, but the elegance of personal development and motivation is that we learn how much of it is tied to momentum.
Yes.
It's something, if you look at Tony's career, why did he always label the number of days, right? P90X, his new tonal program, 20 and 20. I might get the name
20
wrong.
and 20 Ignite, and the new one
20 days, right? He's giving, you're going to do this many days. Why? The momentum of consistency will transform your life. No matter how overweight you are, how down and out you are, the momentum of consistency reshapes our inner psychology to show up even when inconvenient, even when the shadow day is taking us over. It's that showing up again and again that we develop mental resilience, but most importantly, mental respect.
1000%.
You know,
consistency teaches mental respect.
You are so good, man. I mean, and it's interesting. Two things I want to say. Personal shadow. You're right. That is something that you've imposed on yourself that creates nothing but stagnation.
Right.
And action. I mean, just simple writing 3 things down and seeing if you can complete them by Friday. Like, if that isn't the most simple, most brilliant, most perfect way of going from shadow guy to action guy, you know what I mean? Because every time you take those steps, every time you write that down, this personal shadow thing disappears. It just goes poof. And you're right. What you do, and what I think I'm pretty good at as well, is whether it's P90X or 20 and 20, we have basically created a treasure map. And do you want to go on the journey? Do you want to get at the beginning and then find the X, P90X, or whatever it is? And so when you've got somebody that you like and you respect and that you trust, person like yourself or me or Tasha, you go, well, you know, they've had a lot of struggles and they've had some difficult times, but they've done it and I'm not all that different. And they've given me these tools. Either you say yes or you say no, you know what I mean? And what you do is that, like, that simple thing is so gorgeous, because like, I can't imagine anybody watching. Oh my God. Let's just go like, I'm going to do that because I'm struggling here, and here. And all I have to do is write these three things down and give myself a goal of Friday. Like, you know, just crush the week. And here I am. And then you just repeat. It's just, because people think it's so complicated and you've got to be some kind of intellectual and you got to graduate from UPenn and all that. No, not at all.
3 priorities a day and Friday finishers. We've just shown it increases your sense of confidence. It increases your sense of esteem. It increases your productivity. It increases the influence and the income you have. And if you doubt me on this, like, literally go get the Growth Day app. Yeah. Because you get to actually measure it and monitor it and see it. And then you get recommendations for how to improve different areas of your life as you score your habits throughout the week. But all of those things, we all know it, right? Good mindset, score your habits, have a plan, show up for it, work for it. There is an element of the world that really needs to get back to basics. And that's why I love the Friday finishers, is just like back to basics. And it's okay if on Wednesday, your personal shadow shows up, because it will probably be there on Saturday too. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that we still can't go through it. Just like when you're not motivated to do pull-ups that day, it doesn't mean you can't do the pull-ups. In fact, by doing the pull-ups that day, it's going to teach your brain, I will do things even when it's uncomfortable. And again, we don't use this phrase much anymore because people think it's, judgmental, but it does give you self-respect. Mm-hmm. You start respecting yourself the more times that you show up through difficulty and try anyway. There's something about that gives you willpower, strength, resilience, and personal honor. And I think we need a little more of that conversation in the world.
100%.
And then I'm going to say one thing, and this sort of tag teams what you were saying. It's like when you're in the midst of personal growth or going through that transition from who you are to who you'd like to be, you're not knocking the ball out of the park every day. It's just not a thing. Like Tasha, when she's preparing to run to win a bronze medal, her workouts have nothing to do with what that actually takes to go around and do that. Like my workouts through the week are relatively mellow. You know what I mean? My performance day is on Sunday because I got this ninja course and all this crazy stuff in the backyard, 20-foot ropes and whatnot. And I got a bunch of 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds out there competing with me. So I have a lot of strategy where I'm not overdoing it. I'm not overtraining. I'm not overthinking it, you know, Monday through Saturday. I take a day or two off in there too, because that's part of the healing process. But come Sunday, I've done everything right so that as a 64-year-old, somebody who's, I'm literally twice as old as some of the guys that are here, but I can kind of beat them at certain things because I know to do that during the week. And this is kind of what you were talking about, right? Just sort of take these simple steps, right? You're not the CEO of this huge, massive company with 300 employees, but you're doing all the right things so that if that's your goal, you can get there. But again, yeah, you're not swinging for the fence all week long because that strategy doesn't work. Let me get to my next question. And this question is, these are smart people. This is an amazing question. If there is a natural grind to get to any real goal, how do you delineate whether you are advancing to your goal or actually at a dead end?
Oh, that's so great.
Wow.
That's so great.
That's amazing. You want me to read that again, or is it you got that one?
I got it. That's so good. Yeah. You know, are you advancing towards a goal or at a dead end? I think the important part is, well, first, be really clear about the goal.
Right.
Just be really clear about the goal. But also I'd say there's always a macro answer and a micro answer, right? The macro answer is, am I architecting the life that I desire to live? Because our goals live within that, right? Some people say, I want to make a lot of money. My goal is a lot of money. But then they're working 24/7 through the grind, and it's not the life they actually want. Yes. The bank account is what they want. The life is not what they want, right? This is why micro and macro really matter in the conversation about goals. So the first question is, does this goal and does what I'm doing fit within my life? Like for me, I'll give you an example. In architecting my life, I don't do phone calls before 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Pretty much ever. Don't want to do them, don't want to be part of it. My mornings and having freedom in my mornings is tied to my personal freedom. So I've built my life so I can have free mornings pretty much every morning of my life. It wasn't that way always, but it was like a goal. I'm going to do that. I want to get to that point where I have a lot of free time and creativity and movement in the mornings. That's important to me. And so built that up. That was architecting the lifestyle that you want. Now, is it a dead end? It is a dead end if it's destroying the lifestyle you want to live. It's a dead end. It's the wrong goal. If it is ruining the architecture of the life you really want, wrong goal. It's okay to call it like, I'm hitting this wall. Well, maybe you don't need to bust through it, because even if you bust through it and you succeeded, you're not building the life you want.
Right. Great.
A lot of people do that with money.
Yeah.
They're killing themselves to bust through the goal, or they're hitting the dead end. And sometimes, like, you know what? It's okay that said, you're not happy anyway. Right. Like, walk away, quit, pivot, change, architect the life you want. So I'm always at the macro, architect the life you want. Now we know what the goal is. Now we can ask, do I feel like I'm hitting a dead end because I don't have the skills yet? Because I don't have the mentors yet, because I don't have the plan yet? Well, then keep going. Get the skills, get the mentor, get the plan. Right. If you have the skills, if you have the mentor and you have the plan and you're still butting up against it, and it's just like, it is not working, it is not working. Now, the next question is the easiest answer, such simple and elegant question to honestly ask yourself, is this a worthwhile and meaningful pursuit to me? Is it really going to be fulfilling if I break through? Because maybe you got a lot of people have capability, but they're chasing the wrong goal. A lot of people, hit that wall and they break through, and yet sometimes It's like, wait, you had the mentor, you had the map, you had the skills, but you're not fulfilled by it. And the dead end isn't actually the world saying this isn't for you. It's your heart crying out, this is not for us. Good Lord. The dead end is actually the psychology going, this is not my thing. But if your heart is saying, this is my thing, it fits within the architecture of this. It's just hard. Keep going, baby.
You know, it's interesting.
Brendon, I got to tell you this. I love that you use the term wrong goal, because about 3-4 years ago, my partner and I came to one of your seminars, and you on the stage said, you know, it's basically what you're telling us right now. It's the wrong dream. You're going after the wrong dream. And to this day, if anything is going on around the house that doesn't work, the dog's barking, someone's making noise outside, we took the wrong direction, we're like, wrong dream. Like, to this day, we still use that phrase. Anything that's not in alignment, we still have that phrase that you said just about, you know, things not feeling right or being right. We use it for literally everything from, you know, dogs barking to our goals. It's like, you have to recognize wrong dream. Like, that is our phrase, wrong dream, to this day. I love it.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Both of you guys nailed it on the head. I think, you know, I think the internet and social media have a lot to blame here, but there's far too many people on some level that are chasing power, money, and fame. You know what I mean? And I've worked with a lot of powerful people, very famous people, very wealthy people, and they're pretty miserable people. You know what I mean?
Sir.
I'm reading Paul Van Duren's book. He's the creator of Vans shoes. These little babies right there. Where are you? Can't get in the frame.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, the bottom of my shoe, they all look the same. But I'm only a couple chapters in, but right away he says, here's 2 things out of the box. It better be fun and don't work with jerks. I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, surround yourself with other cool people who want to do fun stuff. And he created this shoe line, you know what I mean? And it's, you know, he's in his almost 90 or something now. And it's just an amazing read, another biography where you just learn a couple of things. And here's a guy, he worked for a rubber company that made shoes, but it was called like the something rubber company, but they didn't even have a name for the shoes. They were just calling it the rubber company, and they put canvas on a rubber base or something, but he just loved it. He loved the whole development idea and coming up with the different materials. It was just like the creative process of it, but they didn't know how it was going to turn out. They just loved going to work and hanging out with other people that wanted to go to work and do the same thing. And anytime there was a jerk around, they would pivot and keep the jerks out. You know, I love the way he's an old school guy. He says the word jerk, which is really great. Reminds me of my upbringing. Okay.
Well, I'll give this might help like land that goal thing for people here.
Go for it.
You know, because this seems like the most mind-boggling thing for me. It's one of those things where I don't know how it took me 15 years of coaching people every week to realize every human being only wants 4 things after they have sustenance or safety. Like, we only want 4 things. We're only actually chasing 4 things. So this might fit within your goal framework to think about. If it's the right goal, the wrong goal, something that's going to be meaningful, something that's important to you. We want 4 things. Number 1, the very first thing that we all want, and probably a reason many people are here, is we want aliveness. We all, as human beings, we want to feel that aliveness, that energy, that motivation, that enthusiasm, that health, that vibrancy, that presence, that moment, that connection, that awareness, that spirit, whatever you call it. It's under the bucket of aliveness. We want a sense of aliveness. We're human beings. We don't want to die. Aliveness is important, right? We all want to live, unquestionably. Aliveness is something we're all chasing. Why are we getting healthier? We want to feel more alive. We want more energy, right? We also want more connection. And that is a connection with both ourselves, other people, maybe your creator, but we want a greater sense of connection in our lives. Here, I'm going to adjust this lights. Apologize, it's getting dark in here. Sun's going down right behind. I don't know if you see it.
See that? Yeah, you got it. You have a halo. I told you, people.
The holy Brendon Burchard.
People don't think that's real, but that's here. Watch this. People always think I have a fake background, but here's what's going on back there, guys. Because it's just we're appreciating life's beautiful moments right now. The sun's going down right behind me, so I'm going to try to adjust this lighting so you guys can see here. A special moment here. We'll all share a little sunset in Northern California.
Are you north of me right now? Where are you, by the way?
I'm in Northern California.
Wow, you're a Cali.
Here we go. Let's get a little,
Nice.
trying to get the lighting going for you guys.
Is that
Sun's coming down.
Is that your vineyard behind your house?
Not that one right there. No, that's not. But that's real. So I was just, it's like, I'm actually here. You can see my background. So if you saw this light, I was like, Brendon must have this like complex. You got a green screen with the light coming. I'm like, no, that's actually happening. The sun's going down right there.
Putting a halo above your head. That's a hell of an effect. That's right.
That's
You
right.
know
That's
what?
right.
I wasn't going to follow him, but now I got a sense that he's, going places.
This guy's got some kind of ego. He's got that green screen halo going on for him. No, it's sorry, it was happening. 3 or 4 things we all want. Aliveness, number 1. Connection, deeper connection with other people.
Yeah.
3rd thing, meaningful pursuits. Meaningful pursuits. Doing things that we find meaningful. It doesn't mean we all have to have an ultimate purpose, but along the way, those purposes might change. We want to feel like what we're doing has meaning to it. And then in the middle, if we had a triangle, right, it'd be aliveness, connection, meaningful pursuits. In the middle is growth. And so if you're hitting a dead end, a lot of dead ends are because you're not growing. You're like, I'm not growing. Why? This feels, even though other people go, why can't you? Like a lot of you're achievers because you follow Tony. A lot of you get this from other people. Why can't you just be happy? And you have to understand what unites all of us, why you would even be here still talking with us, is because that human impulse for growth is so strong. And so when you don't feel aliveness, connection, meaningful pursuit, or growth, that's a real dead end. It really is.
Wow, dude, talk about knocking that answer out of the park. That question's like, wow, that's deep. That's beautiful. No, that's just really lovely, man. I thank you for that answer. And I'm sure whoever asked, I don't have the names here, but boy, that person should be quite grateful for that. Do you have anything for how to stay the course when the road ahead is unclear?
Yeah.
Maybe you've
the
already
road ahead is always unclear. As soon as you know what the road, it's like, I tell people now, this may be a uniquely Montanan thing, but I know Tony has done this too. Hitchhiking, right? Now I don't know, it's not safe anymore, but I grew up in a place where you could hitchhike, and because there's so far distance between towns. Or many of you have gone on a hike in a nature wilderness. You don't know exactly where it's going, but you keep walking the road. And that's life. All the roads ahead are unclear. Every single one you can take. Put 100 forks in the road. Every one of them is certainly 100% unclear. What do? Keep walking. That's it.
It's interesting. When I was a wee lad and I was, struggling in many areas of life, my parents would always use the example, you know how lucky you are, you live in a middle-class home, you have a head over your head, and there are all these people, and they would go on about these different, countries in Africa. It was always that, where they don't have there are dirt floors, they live in a hut. You should appreciate what you have based on these total strangers that you've never met and what they're dealing with. And that never worked for me. It's like, yeah, that sure. Let me imagine how miserable they are. And I'm not nearly as miserable, but I got problems and I don't have answers. And only in the last month. And as difficult as things are, because I have all these balls in the air, unlike what I did with Beachbody, which was like, show up, hit my mark and go home. Yay, those are the good old days. Wait for royalty checks to come in the mail. And it's different for me now. And I kind of get in my head about where I am. And, Sean and I are kind of, okay, well, what if we did this? What if we did this? We have to fire this guy because he's no good, but he's a good kid. I have to, it's just endless. You know what I mean? And with what's happening in Ukraine right now, I can watch that. And I can see what's happening to these poor people in this country. Never in my life have I felt so grateful and so thankful. And I've never been more productive. And I just right now want to be the best I can give to Doctors Without Borders, and I can give to World Central Kitchen, and I can send them lots of money so they can feed people and help people who are injured. Other than going right to Poland, and There was a great story in the news of a woman from Kansas City. She just couldn't watch it anymore. So she got in a plane and she went to Poland, and she's working for World Central Kitchen. She hasn't even seen food yet because she's ushering people on buses and she's traveling from place to place, just helping people get I mean, now, maybe I should get into, but all I can do is be the best possible person I can be and help as many people as I can and appreciate exactly where I am and who I am and the influence that I have here now, as opposed to taking it for granted, which is what I've been known to do. Right. You know what I mean? I'm a little bit too much bitching and a little bit too much moaning and too much about taking it for granted. And, and looking on my tonal to see if I have the #1 program, you know what I mean? I still check it out, but I'm just much more appreciative now of who I am. And I spend much more time searching for answers to find solutions so that I'm not only just helping myself, but I'm helping other people, you know what I mean? And that's my aliveness that you were talking about. Because I get sometimes I get caught in the grind. Like, yeah, look where I live and look what I have. And that's all really great. But why am I irritated? You know what I mean? Right. And ever since this war started, I'm just beyond grateful to tears. I just feel like there's more I can do. What more can I do? I have to be able to do more. I got to do more. There are people who are struggling in this country. And these are the people that I'm having a connection with, the people who are in here, people who are part of Power of Four, people who are looking in on me on tonal, people who are buying my supplements. You know what I mean? I just feel like it's my duty to less about me and more about everybody else. So, all right, 2 more questions. Brendon, do you have time?
Sure, man.
2 more. You're being so generous with your time, man. I cannot thank you enough. Tasha, what about you? Because you got places to go and people to meet and things to do.
Can I leave when these 2 gentlemen are in the same room together? I don't think so. I'm going to carry on.
Let's do 2 more, and then the sun's down. I got to call it alive. The lights are going to be out in here. So we'll do a speed round. Go for it.
All right, here we go. When we are spending so much time of our energy on our health habits, and some of the other 9 habits are suffering out health, and some of the other 9 habits are suffering, how do we manage to bring back balance without sacrificing our progress on our health habits? Geez, these are smart people. That's just another phenomenal question. Did you get that one? Did I read that?
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably more the expert on that one than I am.
Yeah, here's the thing that I'll always say, and I get some version of this question over and over and over again. There are so many things that we have to get through in our day-to-day life, week to week, month to month, year to year, like those are the macro and the micro, right? And it's really, for me, it's about prioritizing. You have to have faith and belief in the fact that your health and your wellness is the foundation that keeps everything else going. I mean, this is just, that's what the 11 laws are about. You know what I mean? Because, and a lot of it is just science, your brain, which is all the thoughts and all the emotions, like they're working together in conjunction. It's all happening up in here. When you move everything below that, whether it's yoga or Pilates or cardio or plyometrics or chest and back or whatever it is, and you're doing it consistently, you're releasing norepinephrine and dopamine and serotonin, brain-derived neurotropic factor, and all these neurotransmitters are on fire. It's literal miracle growth of the brain. The hippocampus inside. So there's the hippocampus. There's the dentate gyrus, which is this tiny little part of the center part of your brain that lights up. It's literally miracle growth of the brain when you breathe heavily through physical exercise or meditation. Let's say, that's why there's a mindfulness component in the Power of Four, because sometimes you just don't have the time or the energy or whatever to do one of the workouts. So you find that, and there's two mindfulness sessions of the 25 different workouts, and you can, you use those two to learn how to do it kind of in a certain way, so you can get the benefits from it. And after a while, you don't need to get on your phone or your desktop or your iPad to do it. You learn these basic skills on how to just be calm, be in the moment, be present, set whatever mood you want. You can do it while driving. I wouldn't close your eyes, but before you go to bed, after you get up in the morning, you set your 15, 20 minutes, you get on the Calm app, whatever combination. And exercise does the same thing. It just releases the oxygen in the blood, in the brain, gives you a brand new perspective on how to get after the other 9 things. All right. Yeah. The other 9 things are no longer intimidating and overwhelming and creating angst, right? And I'm like that. When I miss 2 or 3 days of working out, just whatever, I'm traveling or I'm a little bit sick under the weather. Oh, I don't want to. I mean, everything goes to crap. I mean, it just does for me. I understand the science of exercise. And that's why I schedule 7 days a week. And I will miss 1 or 2. That's fine. But I got the bulk of my week is moving and grooving physically, which affects my mental and emotional state, which allows me to have 3 jobs, right now.
Listen, it's like the fact that you just said that is like, you're prioritizing, it's in there. And I think one of the things that's powerful about, I'm just going to celebrate Tony in some ways, is like, he also has shown you can get at it in 20 minutes. You can get at it in 30. Protect that 30 minutes for your health habits. You still got the whole day. So find that 30 minutes, find that 30, 45 minutes or an hour. If you food, diet, sleep, exercise, meditation, or whatever, that can be done in an hour a day. You still got 23 hours. So I think protect that piece for yourself, mentally or physically, and then find balance. And most balance is actually just time management. And that time management, get a productivity planner, use Growth Day app, get off of social media. The average American now spends over an hour just on Facebook or Instagram a day. And so, which by the way, most people don't understand, 1 hour a day, 30 hours a month, 365 hours a year, 1 hour of distraction on social media a day is 45 8-hour work days throughout the year. That's a month and a half of work you're missing from 1 hour of social media a day. So most people actually have way more time than they think they do. And it's about finding where those distractions, because maybe social media is not your thing, but TV is, or maybe just being disorganized is your thing that's stealing your hour. Whatever's stealing your hour, whatever takes an hour from you a day that's stealing your focus is stealing 45 work days, 45 8-hour days a year. Well, think about this. The average American watches 4 hours of television a day. Wow. Now you're talking over 160 days a year, work days, 8-hour blocks, gone. It's so much easier to find the hour, do your meditation, exercise, diet, sleep, nutrition, whatever you have to do to protect your health that day. And then the rest of the day, just better time management. And you'll get to a lot more than most people think. That's a lot of what we teach in high performance. It's like, oh, I don't need to stack a bunch more on. Often we just have to simplify and remove, and you discover your freedom.
And if you do that, you go from survival mode to thrive mode. It's that simple. And what you prioritize it. There's 3 simple things you need to do. 1, figure out what it is you're going to do. Now, we've already gave you the treasure map. You just follow along, right? Whatever it is, P90X, Power Nation. Here's what you do. Here's how long it takes. I've even created stop options in this new program, Brendon, where, this workout's an hour, but then look, you can stop here at the 20-minute mark and go to, because that's all you have the time for. That's all you have the energy for. You don't have to go to all you, because, when I had that hour and a half yoga session, everybody blew that off because they thought I have to do the whole thing. And I don't want to do the whole thing because it's hard and it's scary and it's taking up 90 minutes. So now what I've done, and literally 80% of these workouts is 20-minute mark, first stop option, a big red bar comes, and I say, here's your first stop option. You have a decision to make. You can stop here, go to the cool down. That's okay, because I know you. You got places to go and people to meet, and you're a little tie-tie, and that's fine. But you can go to the second stop option. But you don't have to. Then the next one comes at 40 minutes. Here we are again, another stop option. Yeah, look how far you got. You went to the first stop option, now you got a second one. There's 20 more minutes. You don't have to do it. You can if you want. Maybe it's the 3rd month. And it's like, I'm going to go to the end. So it's just excuse killers, right? You know what you're going to do. And then you have to decide. Number 2 is you have to decide what is that time frame that you need on those days to do it. Now, is it the morning? Is it night? Is it both? What's your schedule? What do you have to do? Like, I have morning and night workouts just based on everybody else's schedule. And then you have to let the world know it. Do not interrupt, like with you. No, I don't make any phone calls before 1 o'clock. Like anybody who like everybody has my calendar is predetermined months in advance. These are where all my workouts are. Do not plan a Zoom call or a thing, or and if they want to come to my house and shoot, they got to come at 10:30. They're not coming here at 8 because I'm in the middle of a workout, right? So you just tell the world that now you're prioritizing, and all the other 9 things that are so difficult for you to deal with aren't, right? Because there's two things we control: how we move and what we put in our mouth. And that changes everything about who we are. And if we do those two things and we prioritize them and we know that everybody in the world know about it, the other 9 are like, I got this, baby. You know?
I just want to mention real quick, Tony, one of the things that I know has helped me is I have a list of the things I never want to get too far away from. Not a 10-mile list, but what I'll do is I'll every day kind of look at that list and see, is there anything on that list that I'm getting too far away from? It's been too many days since I did that. And then I'll just add it into my schedule the next day. So I might, because I hyper focus, like this person is saying, they're focused on one habit. I'm the kind of person who will just 14 hours later, I'm like, oh, where is everybody? I will do that. And so I'll end up with day after day after day after day after day, just focusing on this one thing. So I created a list. It's like, okay, let me just run down this. Oh, okay, I've been staying up. I need to make sure that I'm getting to bed earlier this next day. Tonight, I have to go to bed earlier and for the next few days. So I'm always making sure that I'm checking in with the things that are most important. And if I've gotten too far away from them, here they go. They're on the schedule.
There's something very powerful about putting pen to paper. Like I tell folks, if you're struggling in whatever area, put it on your refrigerator, because I know you're going to see that every day. Put it on the back of your front door, because chances are you're going to walk out that door more than once or twice a day. Or put it on your bathroom mirror. You know what I mean?
I got cards all over the house. I got to hop, guys. Tony, good seeing you, my brother. Man, I appreciate you. I miss you. I'm literally gonna buy a tonal because you are on it now. So I'm pumped to go try it. And
if you want to save money, email me and I'll save you some money.
I love you, brother. I love you. Tasha, great seeing you.
Likewise.
I appreciate you both. I appreciate everyone here today. Awesome questions. And man, Tony, just as always.
Likewise.
Love you, man. Thank you for your impact in my life, man.
Brother. I appreciate you doing this. I know you're super busy, and so it means a lot to me and to the fan base. So, brother, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your night. Right. Say hi to your lovely wife for us, will you? All right. We'll see y'all. Thank you, everybody. Tosh, it's you and me.
Whoa, Tony, wasn't that a maze balls?
A maze ball. I've heard that expression, but never quite that good. That was.
You know how we do it.
Maze balls. You're so awesome, man. I mean, what a pleasure to be on with the two of you guys. Like, that's just like Christmas on the 4th of July and your birthday right there.
I'm like, hold on. Am I in the room with Tony? And
is it us? Is it really us? It's like, I'm America's fitness clown. So I'm like on the bottom. I need to talk to my shadow. Did you see what's happening here? I want to do one more question that maybe you and I can kind of cover here. I want to make sure that they're all covered. And then you and I can kind of say our love goodbyes. Yeah. I'm going to go straight to you on this one right out of the box. All right. How do you know what to improve? I think I'm generally happy with my current path. How do you know what to improve? I'm generally, that's an interesting choice of words, happily with my current path. Yeah, I mean, like you said, the operative word there is generally. Like what's happening with that generally? Is that a statement that comes from settling? Because you're using the word generally because there's other stuff I'd like, but I should be happy, like Brendon was saying. I should be happy with what I got, right? But if the statement generally comes from a place of settling for something less than what you really want, then it's really about, like he said, that macro. It's about looking for, well, what is it that I do really want? And how do I define that? Putting that pen on that paper and saying, okay, if my life was ideal, if money wasn't an option, if contacts weren't an option, if connections, if time, if there was nothing on planet Earth that could get between me and what I want, what would it be? And if you're not necessarily living that now, that means there's something else for you. There's something else for you to shoot for. There's something else that your heart would like to align with. And so once you can get clear about that, then it's like, okay, well, what little steps can I start making to start moving in that direction? Now, if you feel like you're in a space where it's like, you know what, I like my life. It's not generally. This is the life
I'm shooting for, and I'm comfortable here. I think it's okay to give ourselves permission to just be, to just be okay. Like, I think like Tony, you said with social media, there's always this sort of like, almost like sometimes it can feel like a dark cloud of, I've got to get over there. I've got to have the car. I've got to have the more money. I should be wanting something. All my friends are going after this and going after that. Listen, if you have been grinding your life and you have got to a space where you are like, I'm good, I would like to just freaking chill for a moment. Maybe in a couple of months, I might wake up and say, you know what? I am so bored of chilling. Chilling has been overrated, right? You may wake up and say that, but in this moment, it's okay to enjoy what you've accomplished so far. It's okay to be okay, right? There's just not this thing carrot that we always have to chase. I think we get into this, wheel of whatever it is, that we always have to be going after something. If you're not going after something, you ain't tough. You ain't. No, right? We have to give respect to the ups and downs and those ebbs and flows of life and be okay. We go to bed at night because we need that time to regenerate and rejuvenate. We are by law, if we work for a company, to take breaks because our body needs that time. And so this may be a season. Nothing is forever. Winter comes after autumn, fall, summer comes after spring. The seasons ebb and flow. And so maybe this is your season where you're happy with where you are. And maybe next season that will change, and that's okay. That's my opinion.
Well, you took my answer.
Of course.
My answer, by the way, my answer, I don't think was as articulate and brilliant as yours was, but it was in the general ballpark. But I would add this to this person.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You know what? It's interesting because as I was reading this, it reminded me of me.
Interesting.
Right? How do you know what to improve? I think I'm generally happy with my current path.
Right.
And I am generally happy with my current path. And I'm noticing because of the pandemic, I hunkered down. I was the monk. I was the hunk monk, right? Like Sanjay Gupta said. And I, whatever. I think I got COVID and I tested positive, and then 2 days later I tested negative. So maybe that was a false positive, or maybe it was a positive negative. Or I don't know. I do know that I had a cough for 2 months after that. Was it a cold? Was it bronchitis? I don't know, man. You know what I mean? But I was super paranoid about it all. So I was really hunkered down. And if as I see this question and I think about myself, and I would do two things to maybe get out of the general. I would, one, try surrounding yourself with some new, fresh faces.
Hello.
New, I'm going to join that rock climbing gym. I'm going to go take dance lessons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm going to physically take myself out of my comfort zone and go do, I don't have to go ice climbing or get in a squirrel suit and jump off a cliff in Switzerland. I'm not, I'm telling you, the generally will go away once you're like, I'm flying. But some version of that where you're super curious and it's been you know what? I've always wanted to sing and I can't sing, and I'm going to take singing lessons for a whole year. I'm going to find out. I'm going to check who's the good, right? I mean, that will absolutely, Tony Robbins talks about a paradigm shift. That'll do it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is travel. You know what I mean? I mean, if you don't have a passport, then it's tricky right now because COVID's doing all these different things, different places. But if you feel safe and it feels like you got all the right precautions and you're, if vaccination is something that you think is important to do, then you should do it. Having every time I've been to Europe and I've been to Japan and Asia and Korea, when you're in these brand new places, meeting brand new, so that's a combo. So there's new people, new places at the same time. I always feel so incredibly fulfilled. I know as an Olympian, I mean, you went to China, man. I mean, that must have just been, obviously you're focusing on this.
Yeah.
It's just like, look at this hotel, look at these buildings, look at this architecture, and look at that park, and these people, look how they're dressed. This airplane is so wow. You know what I mean? You're constantly bombarded with new intel. By new places and new people. And that's what I would say. Because if your finances are good, your relationships are good, and you like your career and you feel like you're pretty healthy, new people and places will of it.
And I will say, Tony, like you speaking about, if you feel safe traveling, I would say, even if you aren't confident or comfortable going abroad, if you're really aware, if you're really doing what Tony's saying and saying, you know what, I am going out with the intention to meet new people, to see new things, you can do that without going out of the continent. You can do that in your own state. You could drive up to the mountains, go down to the beach, go to the next state. And if you're really like engaged in the process that Tony's describing, you can do exactly the same thing and have exactly the same experiences as if you flew your behind to India or somewhere else, because you actually get down to Vegas, right? And instead of going into the casino and just like focusing, you're actually going to, hey, you know what? When I go into this gift store, I'm actually going to strike up a conversation with the person behind the counter. Where are you from? Do you live here? Are you from here? And you'll be surprised how much, how wonderful it can feel to just have that that human connection and meet new people and hear their stories. You just like, I've done that. Like I've done it where I'm just strike up a conversation with someone in the grocery store just down the street, and I hear amazing stories. So you don't have to, like, if you're afraid to travel right now, which is very understandable, do it where you are. You ain't got to go nowhere. Shoot, you probably don't even know about your next door neighbor. Go knock on their door.
And you know what? It's funny because what you're saying reminds me of what I did on Tuesday morning.
What you do on Tuesday morning?
I had the boys here. We had 7 of us, and 3 had to kind of go off to work and everything else. But 4 of us, we just looked at her and said, "Are you hungry? I'm hungry. You want to go to breakfast?" Like,
what?
let's go.
Imagine that.
Well, like the 4 guys after, like, because it's usually work out, go home, right? Everybody spreads out, and I come up here and I'm on my desk and I'm doing this, like typing and looking at things I got to deal with. And so we all went to the Brentwood Mart, and we all went to a Voltrasate. It was outside, and the laughter and the conversation continued, right? And then we like walked around there, and then me and another guy just 2 of us went and got a haircut, and it was the most spectacular half of a day I had in forever.
Tony's Tuesdays was born. Tony's Tuesdays was born.
Tony's Tuesdays. It was the workout, walking around outside.
Breakfast.
I'm not going to get a haircut every Tuesday. That'll get expensive. But that's it. That was it. The corner store, or your next door neighbor, or just get a little bit out, be curious and get outside of your comfort zone a little bit. And that just makes. And there's so many like great stories that come from things if you just open your mouth and you say, "Hey, let's do this thing." Sean and I went to a comedy club on the opposite end of town on a like traffic, and I just said to myself before I went, I said, "Shauna wants to go. I usually say no. She goes by herself and she has a great time because I'm worried that, the waitress is going to give me COVID or something." And I just said, "You know what? You got all your vaccinations, dude. You're totally fine. You feel like $1 million. Wear a mask if you want." I was like 1 out of whatever. I was like 1% of people wearing masks. But so
where's Waldo?
Yeah. Like there's the guy. And so whatever. I laughed my ass off. We got to see our friend Rachel, who just knocked it out of the park on stage. So and going to support her and met her friends. And we were the last people to leave.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, and 2 months earlier, "I don't want to go because I'm scared."
No, I don't want
to go.
I love it.
I don't see any more new, fresh questions. We got them all. That was fun with Brendon, man. I mean, the boy.
Thing.
He's good.
This guy knows his stuff. Let me tell you.
He's good. I mean, there's a lot of false prophets out there. You know what I mean? With all their
Well, we know he's not, because he actually literally has a halo.
Saint
Brendon Burchard.
No, he's just a good person, and he's
1000%.
Very, very smart, and he walks the walk and talks the talk as much as anybody. And that's the reason why he's one of the most popular folks in that field than anybody.
Yep.
I mean, he's smoking almost everybody else.
People ain't silly. They know what's real and what's fake.
Yeah, exactly right. And he's just got strategies that are a little bit fresh and a little bit different than a lot of the older school stuff. You know what I mean? And he has a nice smile. That's nice.
Amen to that.
Anyway, it was a pleasure. I didn't, again, sorry that I was late. I just, the dog's barking, the internet's not working. I'm like, I'm going into the utility room, unplugging and plugging. I hope this works. And Shauna can usually sit down here and go, and it's up.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It was just little old me, and I'm not tech savvy.
Hey, it happens.
And then when it worked, I was like, oh my God. Because Shauna would have just gone, crazy on me. What's wrong with you? You're not here. I love you and adore you. I just root for you all the time. And I'm looking forward to Paragon. If anybody is looking in and you haven't signed up for Paragon, it's happening May 8th.
It's happening, folks.
And it's just an amazing, and this is a 5-dayer, this is a bit of a commitment, you know what I mean? But we've got great speakers, and it's a lot of folks are coming back. It's their second time.
That's because when you do it good. They always want to come back.
Well, the fun factors through here, and the knowledge factors through here, and the camaraderie is through the roof, and there's all that happening, and they might come for me too for an autograph.
Well, I still have people messaging me from previous Paragons, updating me on the progress they made because of the experience they had during Paragon. So it's a life shifting, life transforming. It's like you were talking about to the last question, doing something different, doing something. So sometimes you just got to force yourself outside of that box that you're living in, that you think you have to do every single day, and say, you know what, screw it. I am going to go to Tony's Paragon. It's the last one you're having for some time, right?
We think probably, maybe forever, maybe not,
right.
So our last one, remember our last one was our last one.
Right. So it could be that it's the last one. So it's like real opportunity for people to jump on board and get involved, because I'm telling you, I have people from previous, years where they're like still talking and still excited about what they learned at Paragon and how it has made them shift, and they're still taking action on the things they learned in Paragon, and it's changed their life now. So it's if you want to change, if you want to do something different, if you want to be writing to me and Tony in about 2 years talking about how everything going good, everything real nice, everything's great, then get on the Paragon, because we're gonna be there, honey.
And you think about it, obviously you got to spend some money. You got to buy those plane tickets, then you land, and then you just absorb. And it's that's what the weekend, or this is a Sunday through Thursday this time. There's just you are literally thrust to the dark side of the moon, or the bright side of the moon, whatever you want to look at it. But you're like, oh wow, you feel like you're an astronaut in outer space, like this is all new. Right. Let me take it all in. Everybody survives. You know what I mean? But and a lot of people are not physically fit. They don't think they're physically fit to be there because there's a lot of physical stuff going on, but they come anyway, man. And then those folks, and I see them in other mastermind calls, and they're different. You literally come to that event, and when you leave, you have to apply the stuff because it's just so obvious. What's
the age of the oldest person that's ever attended a Paragon?
Somebody older than me. I mean, there's somebody who is, I think, 70, 72. John Rady, who I was going to show Brendon this book. We were talking about the effects of physical activity on your brain. Right. Everybody who knows me, who's been in one of these things, has seen me hold up this book. Spark.
Is that me on the front?
That is you.
That is me.
Woo, there she goes. I'll tell you, I want to finish with a funny story. And then we should probably let these folks go.
I know.
If there's even anybody still in there, but I'll just talk to you. So I do cardio on Monday. We do an hour. We go from machine to machine to machine. Got the heart monitor on. We're cranking. Right. How many calories have you burned? I'm like, it's not like who burned the most calories contest, because my resting heart rate is like 42 and theirs is a little higher. So I don't know.
Right.
And I'm old. And then we do that. And then on Wednesday nights is plyo, as you know, and at the house. And I have to invite 32 people because 3 will show up because it's a bear, but it's all legs, heart, lungs, and legs. And then Friday, we're doing this balls and boxes routine, which is all plyo boxes and stability ball stuff. And it's all, it's 10 exercises, and then we repeat them. And then on last Saturday, I've been trying to play hoop, right? Because the gyms are opening up. And I used to play hoop at the Memorial Gym on Olympic Boulevard in 14th, like 6-7 times a year. Yeah, we play with guys my age or older, and we're playing half court. And so Horton, I'm the fittest, I'm setting picks and shoot, and like, Horton, you're unstoppable. So we get there. Only 3 of our 6 guys show up. We're kind of playing one-on-one rotation, and we're taking up half the basketball court. and some young guns come in and go, hey, you want to run? You guys want to run? We'll play like 5-on-5, full court.
No.
And I haven't played full court in 30 years, man. And so and these kids this one guy's going under his leg and dunking like he's running under the head. It was like the all-star
Wrong dream.
And this other kid who's 5'7" is Steph Curry. Like,
oh my God.
Him. He's like 5 yards. Boop, boop. And everybody, this is me. Wow, everybody's jumping so high and going so fast.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I played 3 full court games to 13 or 11. I can't remember what it was.
Right.
I get home. And I think, I thought I was in shape.
Right.
You know what I mean? But boy, what a lesson and what a fun story. And guess what? I'll be there next Saturday.
Yeah. Stay in your lane, boy.
Yeah. I'm in their lane, man. And they're going, it's like the, we're in Germany on the Autobahn. That's what it was like.
Right. The hilarious thing is if they came to the workout with you, they'd probably all pass out within the first 10 minutes. So.
That's what I said to my 2 buddies that were there. I said, yeah, let's see, get any of these guys at my house on a Sunday. See them climb the rope upside down. Not gonna happen.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was just like amazing. I thought to myself, whoa. But it makes me determined to want to go back and want to get better. And I love hoop, man. I love it. And I'm just presently, and especially with my vestibular stuff like that, stop, go, changing direction. My head was whoa, but it's all good. I mean, I'm not afraid of it. I'm not judging the journey.
There you go.
Tasha Danvers, you are the bomb, the diggity. You're as beautiful as ever. I can't thank you enough. I can't wait to see you knock it out again at Paragon. You're just such a dream to watch. I mean, you are one of the highlights on that event.
Oh, thank you, man.
I mean, everybody raves and raves and raves. We fill out those little questionnaires afterward, and it's like Tasha Danvers.
Send me the ones that didn't write good stuff. Okay.
What?
I said, send me the ones that didn't write good stuff. I'll see to that.
I'll go find them because they don't exist. You know what I mean? And what I like about what you do is, and no pressure. Is that every time you come in with some fresh, new, really cool, like it's always evolving. It's not that any of these people would, even people that are repeating, even if they saw the same thing you did before, would still have their mind blown because there's so much energy, enthusiasm, and authenticity behind what you do.
I appreciate that.
But you still mix it up as if like you're a professor at college and you're looking at the same.
Keep you on your toes, man. Keep you on your toes.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And thank you for doing it. You know what I mean? So
appreciate you. Well, Tony, I'm so glad you were able to get your internet working. Thank you so much for being here, because I'm sure the people are going to love this session with you and Brendon. It was real amazing. So much good information, so many good questions asked. So I just want to thank you for this, as usual, for the space that you've created to allow people to learn, grow, and stay healthy.
Well, thank you.
Get out of here, man.
You too, girlfriend. I love you. I'll see you soon. I hope.
All right. Love you, Tony.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Tasha. And thank you, Brendon.
I'm glad that you've really enjoyed this interview. I can tell because you're watching it, because I can see you. Anyway, since you're here, I know you're really going to fall madly in love with this next one. I mean, I'm talking about knowledge consumed by you. All you got to do is go right over there,